Hello, everyone. This video is going to be a part two of Sel.Ket being exposed. Okay, so in the last video, I left off, I was talking about the mentorship. That's the lightest of the conversations that I'm going to be having because the rest are a bit darker. So I just want to issue out that trigger warning for those who that have PTSD, or you may have children around. This is definitely not that conversation, appropriate conversation for children to be around, unless, of course, you decide. So, the next part, but before I move on to the next part, the last thing I wanted to say about the mentorship. So, as far as my personal experience dealing with Sel.Ket, yes, she did take advantage of me. She took advantage of my kindness. She took advantage of, you know, if I was willing to give. She took advantage of, the bond that she and I shared. Um, she definitely did all those things. And then, not to mention that she did participate in trafficking people, including me. She did traffic me. And um, so how she was able to do that was, coming off as a mentor, someone that could be trusted, someone that had my back, my best interests at heart, someone that was a possible friend, and she was coming in to for the great sweep. So in this process of her, of course, gaining my trust and probably observing me, she stole money from me. She stole a significant amount of money from me. She stole opportunities. In some cases, she didn't help me with some. Like, if something was a good idea or maybe a good opportunity, maybe even for the both of us, she's gonna be in my life. If I'm making it, she's gonna make it too naturally. So there were some good opportunities that were offered, and she could have exposed that to me, but she chose not to. Sel.Ket did not play fair. She does not play fair at all. Like, that's not her style at all. That's not how she moves. I'm trying to express the type of person that she was without slandering her, because I'm not doing this video to slander her. I'm not doing this to change people's perspective of her. There are probably people out there that have a high opinion of her, and I'm not trying to jade that at all. It's just people deserve to know the truth, and the people that she has suffering deserve their freedom. She's not above hurting an innocent child or an innocent human being. She's not above using divide and conquer tactics. She's not above uh, being a ringleader to gang stalking. She's not above turning a group of people from a team or a tribe or a family into an army of bullies. I mean, that was just, unfortunately, that was the type of person that she was. And it's very difficult for me to express. First of all, it was difficult for me to accept this reality, this truth. This is why it took me so long to expose her. um, as you could probably tell, I'm hesitating because we go by those hood principles. You're never supposed to quote unquote rat out your people, but the things that Sel.Ket has done and the people who move like Sel.Ket have done are so terrible that they have to get exposed. Now, I wish I remember everything that she did to me, because I would tell y'all deserve to know the truth. Y'all deserve to know what she's capable of. The ones who look up to her and admire her, they want to be around her, they want to be with her. You deserve to know what you're dealing with before you walk into it, because I didn't know. I wasn't given that warning when it came to Sel.Ket. I wasn't given that warning. I had no idea. I walked into an alligator trap with her, not knowing that she was capable of causing great harm to me and my family, the people that I love the most. So what did Sel.Ket do for me to put a video out about her exposing her behavior? Whew. I almost want to say that you guys don't want to know because really I'm like I'm about to the gloves are coming off. You see, it's cold outside and I ain't wearing no gloves because the gloves are already off. This needed to happen. I mean, I avoided this topic for so many years because I don't like exposing people. I repeat, I do not like exposing people. I do not like putting their dirty laundry out there because I wouldn't want someone to do that to me. But the reality of my situation is I've had talks with her many times, not to try to change her, but to let her know that the way she was behaving was not okay and it was unacceptable. And you can only tell a person so many times, hey, I don't like the way you're treating me. Stop. I'm setting boundaries. Stop, stop, stop. No, no, no. Leave me alone. Whatever it is that you're telling, whatever, if you're setting boundaries with a person, whatever you're saying to them, especially in a calm and respectful manner, it should not trigger them to try to kill you. Those are red flags of somebody that has a personality disorder. That's a major red flag. Is if you tell someone no or please stop in a firm but gentle way, and they want to hurt you because they're not getting their way. That's a number one red flag of narcissism. It really tests a person's character when you tell them no or when you don't give them their way, especially when they want it the most and you're not being rude about it. If you're rude about it, that's one thing, I understand. But because the human ego is very fragile, and if anyone has to take rejection of any kind, especially when they want something so bad, even something as simple as narcissistic supply, it could send them into a downward spiral. So that's why, when I did tell her, I did establish these boundaries with her and I did have these talks with her, um, things just went things just went south. Things just went worse. Things just got worse. They did. I mean, it just seemed like the more I set boundaries with her, the more I ignored her and, kind of just accepted that, okay, the friendship is going in the wrong direction and things are not getting better, they're getting worse. I think it's about time that she and I go our separate ways so that things don't continue to get worse. We don't have a war, we don't fight, we don't harm each other, we don't harm innocent bystanders, nobody gets caught up in between what's going on between you and me, right? I tried to be the mature one about it. And she just wouldn't listen. But this was before I started finding out, some horrible things that she was doing to me while I was staying with her. But before my memories started coming back, and I started to heal my memories and I got help from the community and spirit, I could only see like subtle red flags, a little bit of inappropriate behavior here and there, but it wasn't so much to where I needed to pick up the phone and call life alert. Like it wasn't, it hadn't gotten to that point yet. So when I started to see red flags, I did confront her. And at first, we were able to squash a lot of beef, a lot of misunderstanding at first. At least that was what I thought. But then, after a certain point of time, I started noticing that I was running into the same conflicts with her. Like her over talking me, her dominating environments, her, being bossy and controlling other people, stealing money. Like it just, like I said, the red flags, they started getting worse. Like at first, behavioral issues, it doesn't determine someone's character. We all can be stressed out and act out of character. But with her, it was like if I confronted her about one thing or one bad behavior that was unacceptable, she would display another one. And then slowly over time, her behavior started to get worse and worse. And whatever um, negative actions that she displayed, they were getting worse and they were more dangerous to not only to my health, but to her safety. So, like I said, these were just like the minor red flags that I started seeing in the beginning. But once it started getting to the point where, I started noticing that she was taking money, that she was stealing money. I mean, that was very difficult because, like I said, I trusted her. I looked up to her like a sister, and it really saddened me to find out that she was taking my hard-earned money when she saw how hard I had to work for that. So, Kat, if anybody knows how hard I slaved for the money that I had, but that money wasn't just for me to splurge. I got kids that gotta eat. You see what I mean? I got mouths that I gotta feed. So, and I'm sure any parent can understand that most of that money that you get, it's not gonna just be for you. It's gonna be for the kids. It's gonna be for the family. It's gonna be for the future. And when somebody is a thief and they're entitled and they just take something that you work so hard for, it's very difficult to accept. Especially when you trust the person, when you think very highly of them. It's disappointing to be led on, to think that a person is honorable and they're not. Or they don't practice what they believe or what they preach on to other people. So, moving forward, it was getting to the point where she started stealing money from me. It was getting to the point where, she started isolating me from family and friends, with the gossip and the slander. She started to turn people against me. She started to abuse her power. And I can't really specify or explain how much power she has, but she's got a lot of power and she's aware of that. The only issue with that is that she exploited her power. She exploited other people. She abused her power and she became a tyrant. Now, whether she was a good person before all that, I'm not sure. I'm not really trying to like say, oh, she's just this and that because, like I said, as the memories unfold, I'm trying not to judge so harshly because, if I judge harshly, it's coming from a place of ego and it will block me from, being able to tap into my memories further in the future. I just want to simply get out the truth. I'm not trying to slander her or destroy her character, but she needs to be exposed and turned into the justice system so that the victims that lives that she's destroyed can get justice, including myself. So if you're watching this video and you are either a Sel.Ket fan or a Sel.Ket victim, just know that I'm not trying. I don't have an agenda against her. I'm not trying to turn people against her. People just deserve to know the truth of what she's capable of. That's it. I was strongly urged, my intuition strongly urged me to do this. And I could no longer hold this off anymore. I tried to hold it off as much as I could. But if only you knew, if you guys knew, the ones who don't know who Sel.Ket is or what she's capable of, if you knew, the hell that she put me through, the drama, the sabotage, the lying, the manipulation, and triangulation. And for those of you who don't know what triangulation, that's just basically divide and conquer. Okay, so for starters, Sel.Ket followed me every single day. And that's not an exaggeration. She followed me every single day. Followed me. Now, at first, because of how close we were in the past, it didn't really bother me all that much, but I did want some space. Um, and it just seemed like, she kind of had a hard time respecting, my personal space and my personal boundaries. And that was one of the original red flags that kind of led the both of us to start arguing a lot. Because, like I said, the friendship, well, it seemed like we were tight at first. It seemed like it, but now that I'm a little bit older and I'm looking back at things, we really weren't as close as I thought we were. But she would follow me around often, befriend all of my friends. And it did start to bother me after a while because when we were younger, um, because we were close in age, we did have a lot of the same friends. We did go to the same school. Um, but it just got to a point where, the older we got and our personalities started to develop, it just felt like she was mooching and leeching off of my character, my good name. Whatever respect I may have earned, whatever talents I've accumulated from my hard work, it just because she wouldn't give me that space that I needed, it just felt like she was kind of feeding off of that. It felt like she was feeding off of that. And it got to a point where it just felt like I didn't have my own identity. I didn't have my own individuality. I didn't have my own friends, my own privacy, my own life. Because she was always around. Now, don't get me wrong, at the time, I appreciated her being around, but it was excessive. And she did not respect when I told her that I needed space. So it went from um, a friendship slash mentorship to an obsession. That's what, at least that's what it felt like anyway. It was an obsession. She would follow me around every single day. Now, when she was doing this at first, excuse me, yeah, when she was doing this at first, it was like, what direction is that coming from? Oh, back. Because, like, I'll hear an airplane coming and I won't even see it. And I'm like, where's that even coming from? Anyway, so it got to the point where, you know, things started to become toxic. And I'm starting to notice this. But because, she and I live in the same home, we go to the same school, we ride the same bus, or whatever it is, you know, it just seemed like no matter where I went, no matter where I left or went to, she was always there. But not in that way where it's like, oh, I'll always be there when you need me, but it's like I'm always there, like all the time, 24/7. I'm always there, not for you, but to be near you for whatever I can get from you. And that's not only is it creepy, if even if you have good intentions, it's kind of creepy to be around, follow someone around every day, all day. But if you have bad intentions, it gets to a point where it becomes cruel. So she turned my friends against me, and um, well, with me, I was very sociable as a kid. I was an extrovert. I had my introverted moments, but I was very social. I would say I was a social introvert, and it worked for me. And my friends didn't have a problem with that as long as we spent time every now and then, and we worked that out. But Sel.Ket was always there though, and it was like, I just wanted my own life and I wanted to be around my friends, without my home life following me to where my friend life is. You know what I mean? It's got to be limits, it's got to be space. So it started off with that, she started to befriend my friends, then she turned them against me. And then it got to the point where it started to become more and more clear that I like women. But I was very shy about expressing it because, like, I'm not gonna go into detail on this video. I'll talk about it later, but my coming out story. But it was very difficult for me growing up. Being a young teenager, and I'm starting to realize things about myself. And instead of having a mentor there by my side to help me and coach me through it, she actually used that to her advantage. Now, how? Well, I mean, if you have a crush on somebody, you can't help who you got a crush on, right? You can't help who you develop feelings for. And unfortunately for me, because of my surroundings, a lot of the girls that I ended up developing crushes on were either straight, or I just was too scared to tell them how I felt because, the bullying that I had already been through already. And then, coming out of the closet in high school on top of already being bullied, in human trafficked, not to mention. It was very difficult for me to openly and outwardly express my feelings to gain the confidence to be able to maybe perhaps have like better gaydar. Because I still to this day, my gaydar is absolute garbage. Yeah, you heard somebody throwing something in the garbage. I think that just clarifies there that my gaydar is that garbage that at the same time somebody coincidentally just threw something in the garbage to add that little special sound effect. That's funny, but no, that's serious. My gaydar is absolute trash. Nexus, Nexus brand. Anyway, and so she could have been that mentor to help me. Don't everybody have that mentor? Or not everybody, but if you isn't that what friends are supposed to be for? When you like somebody, they're supposed to show support. They're not supposed to have their eye on somebody that you like, or come between you two or destroy that. Like that's not a friend. So those were just areas that kind of let me know she wasn't my friend. But she was doing all this behind my back though. I didn't know it was her the whole time. Like I didn't know it was her. I didn't know it was her that was sabotaging me though. See, I'm kind of like recently finding this out. I just didn't know that it was her that was giving me a hard time. So it seemed like a lot of the girls that I was going after, they weren't necessarily a strong fit. Like they weren't compatible with me. My morals, my belief systems, my mannerisms, the way I treat people. The type of love I like to receive or give. It was a lot of times. I was more about the eye candy, the instant gratification, as opposed to long term, or quality over popularity kind of thing. You know how high school is. But anyway, I was making the wrong choices in girls. I'm briefly say that. She could have been the person to help me, but instead, she took advantage of my lack of awareness. She took advantage of my lack of knowledge and competed with me. So pretty much any girl that I talked to that was I misinterpreted, or she ended up being straight or something like that, or not interested, she would come around and swoop around, and next thing you know, have a relation with a girl that I had a crush on or try to make a pass at. And there was a pattern because she would do this over and over and over. Every single girl that I talked to, she would either um, take her from me in a romantic sense, or if she wasn't able to do that, she would isolate me and the other girl that I ended up, having a crush on. She would destroy that relationship so badly to where it couldn't be repaired. She would do everything she could to infiltrate. And and there was a pattern of her doing this. But like I said before, I didn't know why this was happening. I just thought, well, maybe I'm making the wrong choices. Maybe I'm annoying. Maybe I'm doing this, and that wrong. I didn't have that mentorship though. Even though Sel.Ket was supposed to be a mentor, or she was supposed to be that healthy support, she just was not that. She never has been and never will be. That's why I'm exposing her now. But it was cruel because we're sensitive when we're teenagers. So you really like somebody, and you think they're feeling you, and then next thing you know, the person you trust the most is dating somebody that you have a crush on, and it's like she would do this a lot though, and it was very hurtful because, like I said, I was struggling to come to terms with what my identity was, and I was struggling to overcome like social anxiety from being bullied, and it's just like she did everything she could to make my life a lot harder in that area. And it was very cruel. She was literally like Mrs. Take Your Girl. Like that's literally what she was, but she did that so often to where it just looked bad on her character. It was cruel. It's like when you get the older brother, right? You got the older brother and then you got the younger brother, right? And the younger brother's trying to learn game. It's the brother and the father's sole purpose to teach that son how to have game and how to be a man and how to do all that, right? So it's like because I didn't have that, so Ket was like next in line to not necessarily be my mother figure, but to kind of be that help and mentor. Oh, well, maybe that girl's not right for you. She's not you. You don't really you like this type of girl. She's not really your type. This girl might be better for you. Like like that healthy redirection. You know what I mean? Or just like a respectful amount of honesty. But she played mind games to the point where it was like very cruel. Like she hit below the belt. Um, so that's another example of her character. Another example is that she was physically and sexually abusive. Yes, she was both physically and sexually abusive, which would explain the human trafficking part. But with Sel.Ket, though, her cruelty really had no limits, especially when her envy triggered it. Like, if it's her envy, like, that's her weak spot, is, the envy. And, when that envy would be triggered, she would literally like she would literally turn from, I don't know if y'all watched the show Happy Tree Friends with the little green bear, the veteran, where he was like really sweet and kind, but when he like was like triggered, or he would go right back to war times and he became like a monster. That's kind of how Sel.Ket was. It was like she was very sweet and kind, but when her envy was triggered, she would turn into like a complete monster. Like she would just it was almost as if the full moon was out at night and she transformed into a werewolf. Like that's exactly how she transformed, like literally. So it was confusing for me because it was like things were hot and cold. I never knew when she was going to be kind or mean. I never knew when she was going to give me a hug or stab me in the back, literally. So with her, I ultimately it got to a point where I had to stop talking to her because of this. But she was also like I said, physically and sexually abusive. Because of all the trauma that I've been through with her, I don't remember like why she was that way or towards me or what triggered her to be that way with me. I don't remember. I want to be as fair as possible because I could say, oh, she did this because she was a this and that, and I could start calling her names, but I'm not gonna go there. She was a bully for sure, but I don't know what her reasons behind that aside from envy, because she did make that clear. I asked her. I was like, so Kat, why were you acting like that? And she was like, it was because of envy. She made that clear. She did not hesitate to make that clear. Um, so she made that clear that envy was the sole motivation behind her behavior towards me. So that's that. Now, if there's more to it or not, I don't know. I don't want to try to look too much into it. But when the time is right and, I find out that there's more to it than just envy, then I will reveal that. But for now, all I know is that the reason why she was acting like that was because of envy, mostly. If not, that was the reason. Uh, so yeah, she did some very very horrible things to me. It was very foul, very sickening, and a lot of people did start to ask questions when they started finding out the way she was acting towards me. They were wondering why I was still around. This part is actually the most difficult to explain So let me get to that part at the very end of this video. I'm gonna make just a few more points as to, like, things that she did to me that were unacceptable, and then I'll explain why I was still there after all that. And let me wrap it up though, because this video is getting kind of long. Okay, so another thing that she did to me, um, anything that I told her in confidence, she would tell other people. Like I said, all of these things that she was doing to me that I started calling her out on, she was doing it in a very passive and subtle way to where I had no idea. I had no, most of the things she was doing, I either did not know she was doing or I didn't remember. This is facts. So, yeah, I didn't remember a lot of things that she did that I probably could have remembered, but because of the because of how traumatic it was, and because there was a lot of blunt force trauma, I did end up forgetting. Uh, okay, so she betrayed my trust. She put my business out there that was not her business to tell. She stole money from me. She got involved in my romantic relationships. She caused chaos in the home every day, turning me against my mother, or at least my real mother, the one that raised me, the one that was there for me, the real one. Not my biological mother, but I'm talking about, you know what I'm saying? My real one. I'm not gonna get in that today either. But she came between me and my godmother and destroyed that relationship. Turned us against each other, having us thinking that because my godmother, she thought that based off of the way that I was behaving, she thought I was the problem. And then I thought that the way she was responding to me, I thought she was the problem. But little did the both of us know that Sel.Ket was actually the problem. Neither one of us knew this. Um, so she caused chaos in the home, and then also she would like cause chaos like everywhere she went. So, like for example, Um, I had already made a video about this story before, so I'm not gonna go into it. But it was the story where I got falsely accused. Excuse me, of throwing a rock at a childhood friend, and I didn't do it at all. I had no motivation. I had no reason to do something cruel like that. That's not even how I play. Anybody that knows me knows I don't play like that. Especially if me and that other person already have an agreement that we don't play like that, or we ain't talked about, we ain't had that conversation yet, or we ain't played like that before. We never played like that before. I'm not gonna play like that with you until one or both of us, kind of lets each other know that it's okay. So I don't just go throw rocks at people. That's not how I play. Now we just having a rock throwing fight, then that's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? But I don't just go start throwing stuff at people. Like that's not how I rock. No pun intended. So anyway, so I was falsely accused of throwing a rock at one of my childhood friends, and I actually ended up finding out that it was Sel.Ket that was the one that threw the rock for a long time. And this happened a long time ago, and I swear it was like one of those, like, I went like all like analytic, like investigation mode, like because I had been trying to figure out for the longest who the heck threw that rock at him, because at first I thought he was lying. Like I thought, man, this dude's tripping. He's just trying to start a fight with me. He don't like me, but whatever. I think there may have been some truth to that. That event may have exposed how he really felt about me. Because trust me, if he was my friend, he would have believed me, and he wouldn't have lied and said he saw me throw a rock at him, because he knew exactly where I was sitting. Everybody knew where I was sitting. Where he was sitting, it was no possible way it could have been me. So for the longest, I had been trying to figure out, did he really get hit with a rock? And if he did, who threw it at him? Because I know I didn't do it. And then I was like trying to figure out if there was a possibility that he was bullshit and that was just a plot. It's still possible, but somebody threw that rock at him. And think about it. I started to remember all the events that took place and where everybody was sitting. The only person that was sitting, well, Sel.Ket was sitting like by him, but she was sitting behind him. You see what I mean? I was sitting like adjacent from him. So he was sitting like, say there's you see my two fingers, how there's this side of the rock, right? And then that's where he's sitting. And I'm on the other side of the street sitting on the other pile of rocks. How could I have hit him in the back of the head with the rocks if I'm facing him and he's facing me? I'm not even paying attention to anything he's doing, right? So say if this is him, right? And my sister is like right sitting right behind him, but she's at a level like slightly higher than him, right? So he's down here, she's up here. She's the closest person to him. Everybody else is sitting on the same side that I'm at or in the middle of the street. We're all playing. So I'm like, well, if he seen me throw a rock at him, you know what I'm saying? It just didn't make no sense because I wasn't throwing rocks. And if he saw me, or if he saw somebody throw a rock at him and he thought it was me, the only person I could think of that looked like me was Sel.Ket. So either basically the conclusion that I came up with was either nobody threw that damn rock at him and they both plotted on me, or like that may have been a social experiment, or somebody threw a rock at him, but he probably really did think it was me, and whoever threw that rock at him let me take the fall for it and literally get almost beat up for that. That sounds like something Sel.Ket would do. Just beyond being honest, just just discovering her character, even if she had nothing to do with that and that was just a misunderstanding. That just sounds like that just has Sel.Ket's name written all over it. Uh, let's see. What else does she do? She she was the ringleader, or at least one of the ringleaders, or if she wasn't like the instigator, she was definitely one of the ringleaders, of the people who gang stalked me. She was definitely one of, if she wasn't the ringleader, she was definitely the aggressor in getting the goals accomplished. hmm she was definitely the hands on, or the aggressor of the situation. She may not have been the one to call the order, but she definitely was the leader in the gang stalking. So I highly suggest y'all either watch my other videos where I talk about gang stalking, or maybe even possibly do a little bit of research on your own. You could watch a short, I would suggest the 15-minute videos because they really kind of go in depth. But it's like they briefly go in depth on what gang stalking is, uh, where it came from, how it started, who targeted what's the description, or the characteristics of a targeted individual, aka a TI, and then like what's the personality traits of the perpetrators, and who's more likely to be a perpetrator or a law-abiding citizen. People talk. It's kind of like it's one of those taboo topics that people don't talk about out loud, but it's all over social media. You can go, look at the newspaper, you'll find it, and they may not flat out just say gang stalking, because the United States government specifically only started to recognize it. It's gang stalking is not legally recognized in the United States yet. but it is being acknowledged. So it is going to be kind of difficult to find in depth on the internet. But if you go on YouTube and you binge watch some videos and you listen to people's testimonies, it's very spot on. And what you'll notice, the one thing that we all have in common is that we all had the same experience as being gang stalked. We were attacked physically. Some of us we were assaulted. Some of us got robbed. Some of us, they tried to. Some of them they tried to put us in a grave. I mean, it gets bad when you're being gang. That's no joke. Like a lot of people think, like you know, people who've never been gang stalked before that are not TIs. They think, oh, that's so fun to have people jealous of you. I wish I had people jealous of me, and I wish I had all these people in my face. No, you don't. Not when they're gang stalking you. You do not want these people in your face. Trust me, being alone is much better than being gang stalked. There's some people that feed off negative attention, but gang stalking is not one of those negative attention that. Oh, I thought a fly or whatever. I just felt like it. I thought it was like a dragonfly that flew behind me. That's why I jumped. I was like, wait, what? That was just my sleeve. LOL. Anyway, yeah, but getting negative attention from gang stalking does not feel good at all. It's not like the like cat and mouse, like I'm flirting or it's playful banter. It's not sexy at all. It's not fun. It's not adventurous. Like no, the gang stalkers are a bit mysterious in the way that they follow you, but it's very creepy, very evil. It's not fun and it's very dangerous and it's scary for anyone to have to go through because these people are unhinged. Like anyone that's willing to participate is either probably afraid or unhinged, and that's worse. You know what I mean? Because you don't know who's on your side, who's not, and then whoever's on your side, you don't know when they'll turn on you. You never know. It's like literally like playing a Grand Theft Auto game, but it's 10 times worse because you don't get to enjoy the graphics. It's actually pretty terrible. The things that TIs have to go through being gang stalked is not something to brag about. You hear about some of these celebrities and what they have to go through, and a lot of us who probably wanted to be celebrities are filthy rich and famous. Some of us are probably reconsidering that. Like, you know what? I just want the bread, man. All that extra stuff, man. I ain't signing up for that. Because gang stalking is what celebrities have to go through on a daily basis. Basically, if you're being gang stalked, that's basically the shadow government's way. It's not even the government that's the problem. Let me just put some emphasis on this real quick, because I know I'm supposed to be talking about Sel.Ket, but I just want to make a quick little statement. When it comes to the gang stalking program, okay, the government is not the problem. I thought, because that's what anybody would think when they find out about gang stalking, they think the government that's the first place they blame. That's the first place anybody blames. A lot of people blame the government for a lot of things and maybe everything. The government is responsible for a lot of things. And all the government has to do is simply pay off debt with all these other countries. Like all these other countries that we owe money to, if we can't pay them off monetarily, we need to trade and pay off that debt. And then we need to pay the citizens the reparations. Because the reason why America, why we owe ourselves trillions of dollars is because of reparations. Okay, so we need to invest all that money that we spend on weapons and chemicals and nuclear bombs and cars and electronics that we don't need. We need to be spending that first of all cleaning up the environment. We need to spend that putting people in homes so that they have somewhere to sleep. We need to put that towards our food. We need to manufacture better food. If we're going to be manufacturing food, we need to make sure that it's manufactured with organic and natural ingredients so that we can get all the nutrients and the vitamins from these foods. Okay? That's the only way that the planet will reheal and regenerate itself, along with every citizen on this planet. That's how we can get out of debt. We're not gonna if we don't adapt to a somewhat healthier lifestyle. I'm not saying you got to be a health nut, but we got to do better. Okay, the reason why we owe ourselves so much money is because we're not putting anything towards the planet. We're not investing in the planet. We're only investing in our pockets. We're chopping down trees to make money, and there'll never be enough money. Okay, never. All the trees will be extinct and gone before that chance, and we need trees for air. We need them for herbs. We need trees. Okay, this planet needs vegetation. So even if you ain't gonna eat no vegetables, ain't nobody forcing you to eat them vegetables, but at least let them grow because we need that oxygen. The animals, they cannot breathe, and we need that oxygen. And when you get people like Sel.Ket who are in power, who do not put that first, we all suffer. Okay, that was just a little side note. The second side note that I wanted to finish off before I really go in on Sel.Ket is that um, when it comes to gang stalking, the government is not the problem. It's in a lot of these areas where we blame the government has nothing to do with the problems that we face back then and now. Because this continent was established long before a government was even thought of. So the government is not the problem, cannot possibly be a problem because the government is a principality. Life is what you make it. So we gotta stop blaming organizations that are established, founded, and sponsored by people. We need to start holding people accountable. We can't hold a manifestation accountable. We can't blame, we can no longer blame the air. That's basically what we do. We say, oh, the government's responsible for this. Oh, it's the Democrats, it's the Republicans. We're basically pointing our finger at the air, at the space, instead of pointing from within and pointing at the finger at the people that need to be pointed at. Okay? And in this particular instance, when we talk about worldwide suffering, we need to start holding narcissists accountable by at least pointing the finger at them. We don't necessarily have to be childish and just start pointing like a kid, but our third eye will be looking right at them, and we'll know, like, okay, this person is the problem. Once it's been established that somebody is the problem, and they've been given an opportunity to make it right, and they don't take it, exposure's next. I'm not above being exposed. No one is. I would hope somebody would do the same for me. If I start bugging, I start tripping, I would hope somebody would pull me to the side and check me, and that if they don't, expose me. Do what you got to do. But yeah, we need to stop blaming the government because the government is something that man created. Okay, and we need to start pointing the finger at people who intentionally destroy this planet for world domination. Narcissists fit that description. We need to stop blaming innocent people that we don't like. Okay, we need to stop blaming people who are victims, and we need to stop taunting and provoking and making fun of the victim because, first of all, it's not funny. Second of all, just because someone's vulnerable, that doesn't make them weak or stupid. And we need to stop acting like that and treating victims like that. Victims deserve more respect. It's the narcissist that we need to be chopping down. If you go make fun of anybody, make fun of the narcissist. If you gonna point fingers at anybody, point it at the and if you gonna be hound dogging somebody, you're gonna be riding somebody back and all up in somebody's face, asking them probing questions. The person that you need to be doing that to is the narcissist, not the victim. A lot of people treat the victim like the hostile witness, and the narcissist gets to walk away scot free. And then everybody's looking confused when this person ends up in a position of power, like being the president or the prime minister or a governor or whatever. You looking at it, everybody looking around acting crazy when we was sitting here ignoring all these dang on red flags, and we was picking on the victim. A lot of times in human nature, human cruelty, we do that though. We all are guilty of doing that. And a lot of times it comes from a place of misunderstanding. We misinterpret the situation. We misunderstand somebody's intentions. And sometimes when we're triggered and when we're going through something, we're in our shadow, we're not doing well, we act we our shadow gets triggered and then we start acting very narcissistic. That happens. But this is what happens when victims go neglected for so long. There are literally, until we start getting laws to protect targeted individuals from perpetrators that are willing to abuse their position of power in the government system to enforce gang stalking on the communities, things will not get better. That needs to be this gang stalking and narcissistic abuse can no longer be ignored anymore. Okay, because the more we keep ignoring it, the more narcissists are going to get in a position of power, and we won't be able to get out. It's like what is it, the Chinese finger trap? You got to figure out a way to pull your finger out, because the more the resistance to the truth and what's really going on and who really should be held accountable and what actions we should take next, it's not going to be pretty. So I just wanted to make that side note because I will admit that throughout my experience, I was treated as a hostile witness, and a lot of times I was treated like the narcissist. I was the one that was treated the way the narcissist should have been treated. And that cycle, it has to stop. It has to break. We have to break that cycle because we don't want to see our children get bullied in school, and they come home from school and they telling us that the teachers got mad at them and they got in trouble, they got disciplined because the way that this bully culture is going. And excuse me if this is a trigger word, I want to give a trigger warning, but with this bully culture and rape culture, how it is plaguing the world, and how people just kind of like defend it and go by that code, that culture, it's only going to make things worse. And then it's going to get to a point where, like I said, there's this person is your next president, or they're your judge and jury, and they're working on your case. I mean, there's a lot of times we dismiss stuff and we think, oh, well, that ain't my problem, that ain't my family, that ain't me though. But if it was me though, I'd do this, and if it was me though, I would do that. Yeah, I would. No, I wouldn't do that. But it's like, no, I mean, narcissists have a way of, making things like narcissists are erratic. So a lot of times we may think that we got it in the bag, but normal people don't do the same thing that narcissists are willing to do. It's been plenty of times where I thought, nah, that ain't gonna happen because I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that, but I didn't. I was miscalculating the narcissist. You can do all the proper calculations in your own life, but you'll never ever ever be able to properly calculate the narcissist, because a narcissist is always standing behind you, watching you. You stand behind a narcissist, they'll turn right around and stare at you. They'll do whatever to assert their dominance. Okay? So I want to make that little side point. The government is not the problem. It's an organization at best. A corporation at best. Right? But if managed and handled properly by the right people who are qualified for these government official positions, are in these workplaces, things would look a lot different. Things would feel a lot different, and they would be a lot different. So this is why I expose people like Sel.Ket. I'm not done. I'm gonna keep doing this, and whoever I got exposed next is whoever I got exposed next. Because narcissists take things so far to where they have to be exposed. Narcissists know this. They know they can't stop. It's like being addicted to drugs. It's not that easy to just stop. It's never that easy to just stop. People spend years of their life in rehab to get off of drugs because it's hard, it's addictive. That's exactly how it feels with the narcissistic supply. I mean, you can even compare narcissistic supply to a power struggle in a relationship, in a romantic dynamic. How, one person is trying to dominate the other, and the other one, and then the other partner is trying to control the actions of the other, and it's always that power struggle. It's like when we're toxic, we feed off of each other in that way. And narcissists, they just do that. They're like that. They live and breathe that lifestyle. They are energy vampires. So they can't stop. Like P. Diddy said, I can't stop, I won't stop. It's like they just can't. It's like telling, I don't know. It's like not letting a squirrel ever have a nut. Squirrels love nuts. That's their favorite food. But it's like having a whole bunch of acorns in the background and being like, "Oh, no, I'm throwing these away." It's like, what? That squirrel's gonna go right in the trash. Search through the whole entire world just to find it. You know what I mean? So, but narcissists, they're the exact same way. Or taking water away from a fish. That's exactly how narcissists are with supply. You take that supply away, they will die. I'm serious. Like, no, I'm serious. I've been through a lot. I've been around a lot of narcissists, and I've seen them either have grade A supply with me or maybe perhaps other people. And when they've lost, like, say, like they were married for like 20 some odd years and their significant other passes away, it's over. Once a narcissist is past their prime and they've lost either grade A supply or they are hitting a narcissistic collapse, which that just basically means they don't, have any friends or family because of their own behavior, not because somebody came in and was like, played the same game that they did and was like, oh, well, I'm going to isolate you from all your friends and family, and now you ain't got nobody, and now, ha 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 ha. No, narcissists destroy friendships on their own. See, with somebody like a normal person, um, somebody that's a normal person will, like, say for instance, if they lose friends because they have a fake friend in their corner isolating them from everybody, those friendships could possibly be restored, because if it was a misunderstanding, and it's probably best that they take some time apart, grow apart, and if it's meant to be, reconnect, reunite, right, reconcile. It's going to happen naturally, especially when you're dealing with good people that really love each other and care about each other. But with narcissists, they do this all on their own. And that's part of the narcissist karma, is that when they lose all their friends and family, it's because of their behavior. It's not because somebody came in and was like, oh, you know, pull the I don't remember his name off the movie. Um oh, but his friend, I think his friend's name was Hugo. But if y'all seen the movie but it's based off the Shakespearean play Othello, where he had that friend named Hugo and he was like super jealous of him and destroyed his life. That's narcissism. I had somebody like Sel.Ket was that person for me. She was that Hugo in my life. That's literally that's my life with her. But except for she did this with everybody. Like it wasn't just a few people and then the fall happened shortly after that. It was like, no, she had been doing that to me my whole life. Um and there's other people out there that are like her, but I'm talking about her right now. And I will talk about those other people, but right now we're gonna talk about her. So another thing, this will be the last thing I share because there's more things that she's done, but I'll talk about that in a later video. Excuse me. Okay. Yeah, I'll talk about that in another video. Okay, so one last thing that she's done. It's very difficult to share this part because what she did to me was actually pretty traumatic, and it actually put me in a near comatose state for a few years. I had to go into like a 2 to 3 year, 2 to 4 year hiatus because of what she put me through. This is embarrassing to admit, but it needs to be said because there's more where it came from. Just from what I said alone, enough is enough to be like, dang, she put you through a lot. Yeah, but I mean, she did worse to other people. She's done so much worse to other people. Um, the things that she did to me was while she quote unquote had respect for me, and this is quote unquote respect. So imagine how she treated people that she didn't respect. Ooh, I can only imagine. Okay, so hold on, there's two guys coming, and I don't really like talking about these type of topics when there's strangers around. Okay, so Sel.Ket is she tried to put my lights out. I'm not gonna go too much in depth of that because it's triggering, but she tried to put my lights out permanently. That's all I'm gonna say. Because the rest, I need to, that's something that I'm gonna need to, meditate and do breathing exercises on, and probably smoke a little weed to fully accept that one. But yeah, she tried to put my lights out permanently, and I was a good friend to her. And when I found that out, that really hurt. But she tried to put my lights out, and it's something that she continued to try to do to this day. Was put my life in jeopardy, even though I've been nothing but a loyal friend to her. Yeah, she tried to put my lights out. She did this to other people too. Keep that in mind. She has a pattern, like she has a pattern of doing this to people. A pattern, like it got to the point where other people who observed the way she treated me and others, had to sit her down and be like, "Look, man, what I'm saying? You need to go talk to a therapist. Like the way you're acting is a pattern, man. You've been doing this for a while, man. You need to go get some like to get professional help." And I wasn't even the one that said this. Somebody else who was a witness of how she had been treating me and other people said this in front of me. Um, so that's it for now. Um, but I'll definitely tell more about what happened later when I've had more time to think about it and release some of that stress. But yeah, yeah, there's more to it. Peace, y'all. Peace.